Well, it's great to see everyone this evening. Welcome. My name is William Johnson. I'm with the Vancouver Tech Journal. I'll be your host for the evening. I think we're live on the internet. Just want to make sure, correct? Great. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the 2023 BC Cleantech Awards ceremony presented by Foresight and KPMG with support from MLT Aikens, Osler, and TransLink. It's great to see you all here this evening. It is with gratitude and respect that we are gathered here on the traditional unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations for tonight's festivities. For all of you who are tuning in, there's the camera, online, virtually, we acknowledge that Canada is home to many First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples, and we are honored together in pursuit of a just and inclusive green future. Before we start the celebrations, I want to call up my good friend, Jeanette Jackson, CEO of Foresight Canada, to give some opening remarks. Let's welcome Jeanette.
Oh, hello, everybody. It's kind of a funny story. We've had events all day, and I thought this started at 5:30. So I don't know, some random person out there has my car, and I hope that it gets back to me in the next couple of hours. Anyways, good evening. Thank you all for joining. As most of you know, I'm Jeanette, Foresight CEO. Really excited to be here to celebrate our 4th annual BC Cleantech Awards, and more importantly, to celebrate all the innovators, industry leaders, academia, investors, government agencies, and of course, all the community members as we forge in decarbonizing this incredible province. So Foresight has gone through a lot of growth over the last several years, but what remains true is that we are here to really make sure that Canadian clean tech has the ability to scale, commercialize, and be adopted so that Canada can be the first G7 country to reach net zero. And we believe that by achieving these incredible targets, that we'll be able to showcase Canada as a model globally, which means we're attracting more investment dollars and we're exporting all of our incredible talent, products, and services. Here in BC, we see the community come together very prolifically, which is exciting. And across the country, it's quite different. And as Foresight continues to be pulled eastwardly, I think really you as an ecosystem are a model of excellence for what the rest of Canada can look like when it comes to clean tech. Speaking of our efforts in BC, many of you may know you've been engaged in different conversations that we recently launched the BC Net Zero Innovation Network. Thank you to support from folks like PacificCan, as well as the province and other partners and private sector stakeholders. Essentially, what we're doing with the BC Innovation Network is we're going to be profiling some of our incredible strengths in mining, water, and bioeconomy with a 4th cluster to be determined. And you as ecosystem players all have the opportunity to participate, contribute, and benefit from these incredible efforts. And the team, as a result of that support, has grown quite significantly, and many of them are here to connect with you all this evening. And a shout out to Hillary for taking on that project as project lead. In terms of the goals of the cluster itself, in addition to showcasing BC's strengths, we really want to break down silos and figure out how do we set priorities to decarbonize these sectors, through collaboration, pooling resources, and quite frankly, figuring out where we have innovation capacity and competency and where we need to fill those gaps with new ventures and new ideas. I'd also remiss if you do not make sure you scan the code. I didn't think QR codes were going to be a thing 5 years ago. And as a result of COVID, they're basically everywhere. But please scan and join and then follow along in terms of all the communication and great work that team's doing. So coming back to where we are this evening, again, this is our 4th year to celebrate BC as a thriving clean economy. And we're always overwhelmed by the number of nominations that come in. This year was our highest number of nominations with over 200 across all of the categories. And it's so tricky because I think everyone knows we love to celebrate everything and everyone, and you're all doing such incredible work. But we do work with independent judges to help narrow down all the submissions and ultimately come up with a list of finalists, and you will soon see some winners. So thank you to the judges and the team that's put together the awards tonight, and we couldn't, of course, do that without you. In addition, I'd like to thank some of our sponsors and partners. So thank you to KPMG for coming in as our title sponsor. And thank you. And I also want to extend a huge thanks to MLT Aikens, Osler, and TransLink. I think it's just without your support, these types of celebrations and recognitions are not possible. And I mean, it's just such a great collaboration. I mean, you see multiple law firms, multiple accounting firms, TransLink. I mean, that is really what the clean tech opportunity is doing. It's bringing people together to collaborate and support initiatives like never before. I'd also like to send a thank you to William for being our MC, and Vantech Journal, who does incredible work and showcasing not only clean tech, but broader tech opportunities and highlights across, I guess, Vancouver, but really BC and beyond. And all of our EIRs and team members. So we have over 200 EIRs and mentors now supporting over 300 companies a year. So the team and the EIRs are what bring the depth into what Foresight as an organization is really trying to accomplish. Without further ado, I'm going to pass it back to William, who's going to kick off our first award. Is that right? Do you have the same thing? Thanks, William.
Thanks so much, Jeanette. And yeah, my script said the same thing. So you are all good. So let's get into it. So I have the pleasure of presenting the Community Advocate of the Year Award to kick things off. And not only are the awardees getting recognized with these beautiful, what do we refer to? They're not statues, they're not plaques. What do we call these? Sustainable awards. Wonderful. I know our friends at KPMG also have a special prize for them. But I won't steal their thunder. I'll let George later perhaps come up and talk about what he's giving away, but you can look forward to it. So the Community Advocate of the Year Award. Achieving net zero requires collaboration, knowledge sharing, and mentorship from those who have lived experience in the world of clean tech. The Community Advocate Award recognizes a mentor offering invaluable guidance, advice, support to BC's clean tech entrepreneurs. So this year's nominees all have one thing in common. They are passionate about making a positive impact on the next generation of clean tech in BC. And we really do have the next generation here. I did see a baby in the back. So you really are setting an example here. And so the nominees for the Community Advocate of the Year are Elizabeth Charmley, Vancouver Maritime Center for Climate, Isabella Taba, Energini, Karian Arup, Aqua Action, Keith Ippel from Spring Activator, and then Shannon Bard with entrepreneurship at UBC. And, you know, I think it's really good for me. As the MC, you really are just reading through a script, but I get to actually announce the awards. So I think that's pretty cool. And so the winner this year for the Community Advocate Award is Shannon Bard with entrepreneurship at UBC. Congratulations. Is there? Oh yeah, there is a photographer. I think. Yeah. I don't know if you're listening. I need to see it. Go for it.
Okay. Great. Thank you so much. So I just wanted to start out by saying thanks so much to Foresight for actually recognizing how important community is in our efforts to get adoption for clean tech. The collisions and the collaborations and the partnerships that we have across the ecosystem are really so critical for us to actually get the adoption piece. So within entrepreneurship at UBC, I serve as the lead for the Climate Venture Studio. And many of you have heard me say this before. Historically, there's a 30-year time span between invention and adoption. And we don't have 30 years. So my goal is to decrease that time frame down to 5 or 10 years. And that means we have to do things in a different way. Insanity is defined as hoping for a different outcome, but doing the same behavior again and again. So we're trying to do behavior in a different way. So part of that is that the technological piece, that's not enough. We need to be working on the adoption piece, which means working closely with regulators to dismantle inadvertent barriers that exist because of prescriptive regulations and environmental regulations. Working with regulators to actually create incentives so we can get adoption, and finding ways that we can actually change people's behavior to get adoption, which is probably the most difficult thing to do. So along this side, part of the approach that we've taken is that we need to collaborate beyond scientists and engineers and innovators we need to find ways that we can have really creative, impactful storytelling about what we can do around clean technology. So along this line, what we've done is we have been partnering with playwrights in the theater department at UBC. We work with artists and communication designers at Emily Carr, and we work with journalists, finding ways that we can be creative about how we get our stories out there. The other piece is that we are working to democratize entrepreneurship. When we look at the funnel of all of our innovators, they're very, very diverse. They're coming from immense different backgrounds, different fields, interdisciplinary. And when we look at historically the successful teams that are coming out and getting investment, they're not necessarily reflective of the diversity that we have in that funnel. So we've been trying to shine a light on where the gaps are in that funnel, where teams are actually falling through those gaps because they're international students and they don't have permanent residency. They're sending remittances home. There are all sorts of reasons why someone can't bootstrap for 2 years because they can't afford a pair of boots. So we're looking for ways to work with government, with funding agencies, with nonprofits to try to bridge those funding gaps so that we have a bigger basket of potential solutions to really address the climate emergency. The other thing that we want to think about is that we have this superpower in Vancouver, in BC, in Canada, and that's that diversity. And diversity can mean, a number of different things. It can be the neurodiversity. It can be that you manage to overcome a chronic illness or have a physical disability, being intersectionality, having experienced multiple cultures. That means that you perceive the world in a different way. It means you can identify problems differently, and you can pick up novel solutions. So again, we need that superpower. We need to cultivate it. We need to take advantage of it. Another piece that we have that's really special about what we have in Canada and in BC is that clean technology can be a way that we can have economic reconciliation with First Nations. So looking at ways that we can co-develop clean technology solutions for sustainable energy independence, for clean water, for clean food, all of those pieces help to solidify and strengthen land sovereignty for First Nations. So these are all things that are all interplayed and work together. And the final thing I wanted to mention is that if we want to be successful in reaching our goals around the climate crisis, we need to be able to look across society and have collaborations in which we are addressing threats to democracy, misinformation and disinformation. Because if we don't have trust in science, trust in scientists, trust in government and society, we're going to have terrible threats to be able to address these challenges we're trying to overcome. So looking at ways that we can work together to build that trust is how we're going to be able to address the climate emergency and climate justice in our local communities as well as globally. So finally, what I'd like to do is just thank all of the many countless collaborators and partners who have worked with me and their generosity and their creativity in working together for the greater good. So thank you very much.
Congratulations again. And I really like what you said about democratizing entrepreneurship. I think it's really important that, the people who are creating the innovations that are going to impact the planet really reflect the people who live on the planet, right? So I think that's why that's really important. So moving on with the program, we are delighted to present the next award, Corporate Pioneer of the Year. So reaching net zero requires unwavering support from industry leaders to identify sustainability hurdles in their sector and take the next steps to find innovative clean tech solutions. The Corporate Pioneer of the Year Award recognizes a large organization or a company adopting, championing, or leading sustainable practices in their industry. And so the nominees are Copper Mountain Mining Corporation, Fortis BC, Paper Excellence, Port of Vancouver, and Shell. And the winner is Paper Excellence. So Davis Chewy is tuning in online and he sent his speech. Congratulations, Davis, and Paper Excellence. And I believe that I have his speech. And I had a choice, but I thought, why not? I'm fine with reading it. So on behalf of Paper Excellence, thank you to Foresight and to the selection committee for choosing Paper Excellence as the 2023 BC Cleantech Corporate Pioneer of the Year. We are humbled by this recognition. We are very proud to be recognized for efforts we started decades ago when we made a bet and took early action on decarbonization. As an organization, we have reduced our carbon emissions by 66% since 1990 through fuel switching and dramatic improvements in energy efficiency. And that brought us today where we are. Our energy mix is 85% renewable. We are not stopping there as we look to continue to partner with BC's innovators to help us get to net zero and even perhaps net negative emissions. It is truly a renaissance period for the next generation. It is truly a renaissance period for the Canadian pulp and paper sector, and one that Paper Excellence looks forward to continuing to produce innovative, sustainable, renewable, recyclable, and biodegradable products, fuels, and chemicals, leveraging natural processes and products to decarbonize value chains. So that whole sentence was a paragraph. Again, thank you on behalf of Paper Excellence. We are honored with this recognition. I also want to congratulate the rest of the nominees and the winners. We are in this together, couldn't agree more, and I look forward to working with each and every one of you to help meet our global net zero goals. Well, congratulations again to Paper Excellence and David Chewis. There it is, perfect. All right, quickly. I want to say hey to everyone who's tuning in live, on the internet. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for joining us to recognize these inspiring individuals and organizations who are here tonight across BC Cleantech community. And as we continue, I want to get us prepared for the Educator of the Year Award. Speaking of the next generation. So educators have the power to shape the next generation of climate leaders who will enable a net zero future. And actually, I wanted to say that every time we say the word net zero tonight, keep track. Jeanette and I are going to do a shot later. So watch that term, who will enable a net zero future, net zero. No, the Educator of the Year Award highlights a professor, academic leader, or post-secondary instructor who is taking an innovative approach to education for the net zero economy. The nominees are Dr. Basma Majerbi, University of Victoria, Hussein Kazamin, University of Northern British Columbia, Kasun Huahe, the University of British Columbia, Steve Perry, the BCIT School of Transportation, and Tessa Jordan with BCIT's School of Sustainable Business. They are double dipping there. All right. And the winner is, for the Educator of the Year, Dr. Basma Majerbi, University of Victoria. Congratulations. So Dr. Majerbi wasn't able to. Oh, she said, yeah, hand the speech over. Let's do it again. Yeah, let's do it. All right. 271 words, it says. Okay. I'm truly honored and humbled to be the recipient of this award and to even be considered among the list of all the amazing finalists. I would like to thank the selection committee, as well as the team at Foresight for recognizing my contributions to advancing clean tech in BC and Canada through various initiatives inside and outside of the classroom to help mobilize finance and investments to accelerate climate solutions. I also thank my colleagues and students at the Gustafson School of Business and across the University of Victoria for pushing the sustainability agenda in everything that we do. We all share a passion for making the world a better place through our research, educational programs, and community engagement. This award is testament to Gustafson School's commitment to developing responsible leaders, championing research that makes a difference, and cultivating partnerships for positive impact. We all know beyond any doubt that we are running out of time for tackling the climate emergency. This requires collaborative action from industry, academia, and all members of society who can play a critical role to promote sustainable futures. I thank Foresight for its leadership in engaging with and supporting academics to enhance experiential learning, share knowledge, and inspire action to advance the clean tech sector, which is critical for BC and Canada to meet our climate goals. Thank you again for this honor and congratulations to all the finalists and winners. I dedicate this award to my daughter, Zinab, and my son, Yasin, who inspire me to be a better person every day. And thank my husband and the rest of the family for their endless support. There you go. Thank you. All right. Next up, we have our Training Institution of the Year Award. So, continuing on the theme of education, education and research are the building blocks of innovation. To reach our province's sustainability targets, it is imperative that we put an emphasis on research and education in order to empower the future of clean tech innovation. The Training Institution of the Year Award recognizes an educational institution that is leading or championing research, programming, and upskilling that will enable a net zero future. The nominees are Climate Venture Studio at Entrepreneurship at UBC, Interior University's Research Coalition, the Pacific Institute of Climate Solutions, SFU Venture Labs, and the University of Northern British Columbia, NALS. Okay. And the winner is the Pacific Institute for Climate Solutions. And we have Nastenka Kale and Sarah Muir receiving the award. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Stand over here to start. Stand over there? Oh, that's right.
All right. Well, thank you very much for this award. I'm Sarah Muir. I'm the program manager for Pacific Institute for Climate Solutions at the University of British Columbia.
And I am Nastenka Calle, the program manager for PICS at Simon Fraser University.
And I guess we're known as the classics. We've been with PICS since it started almost. So PICS is hosted and led out of the University of Victoria in partnership with BC's research-intensive universities. So that's UBC, SFU, and the University of Northern British Columbia. PICS was established by the BC government in 2008, and it was one of the first of its kind in North America, a research institute based in partnerships solely dedicated to climate change solutions. PICS approach celebrates co-creation of climate solutions. We bring academics and partners together to co-design and co-develop research projects that have applied public policy, community level, and private sector relevance. Supporting the next generation of climate leaders is central to PICS' mandate. Since its inception, PICS has supported hundreds of student researchers and interns working on diverse and leading climate mitigation and adaptation initiatives. These scholars have made meaningful contributions to climate action within government, civil society, industry, Indigenous communities, and in various other areas. Right now, PICS is in a period of renewal. We have a new executive director, Dr. Ian Moreau, and we're looking forward to continuing to generate and amplify meaningful climate collaboration and action within the province and beyond. Mostly, we're honored to be recognized for supporting the much-needed training required to transform our communities, institutions, and culture towards a low-carbon and better future. Together, we can achieve our collective climate goals, and PICS is here to support. Thank you very much.
And I also would like to congratulate all the nominees and all the people that make it to the shortlist, and we are very grateful to be honored with this award, and we're going to continue working hard and collaborating together to bring solutions forward for BC and beyond BC. Thank you.
Awards is here as well. Don't forget this.
Yeah, that's a good. All right, congratulations. Next, we are delighted to present the next award, Government Champion of the Year. So reaching net zero requires support from government champions, the advocates, policymakers, and unsung heroes who work tirelessly to advance sustainability objectives across our province. And so the Government Champion of the Year award recognizes a local or provincial government official using policy, advocacy, or funding to move the province toward net zero. And so the nominees this year for that award are Candace Wilson from the Hazelett Nation Council, Aaron Robinson from the City of Quesnel, Jessica Williams, BC Housing, Minister Bruce Ralston, the Minister of Forests, and Minister Nancy Norris, the Nancy Morris, Ministry of Energy, Mines, and Low Carbon Innovation. I remember last year I had trouble with that ministry because it's so long. I do remember that. With the government of BC. And so the winner for the Government Champion of the Year award is that long ministry. Nancy Norris, the Ministry of Low Energy Mines and Low Carbon Innovation. Congratulations. Congratulations.
It is a very long name. Well, thank you so much to Foresight Canada, and congratulations to the other finalists for your awesome achievements this year in advancing clean tech projects. I'm here representing a project called the Energy and Mines Digital Trust. We're using emerging digital technology to enable BC businesses to prove out where their products come from and the sustainable way in which they're produced. So we focused on the energy and mining sectors, but this technology has a myriad of use cases that could be used. And I really believe that using technology in this way is how we're going to achieve a clean, sustainable, net zero future. This is also the vision of John Jordan at the Office of the Chief Information Officer at BC. John is one of the most intelligent and brave people I know, and it's really an honor to be here advancing his vision and moving this work forward. I also want to acknowledge the collaboration that we have with John's team for digital trust services. They built the foundational digital wallet and ledger technology, and my team has worked really hard to add additional functionality to that so that we are able to deploy it across government efficiently and easily. My team's worked really hard as well on building out our ecosystem of participants, doing tirelessly working on communications and education on this technology. And I want to acknowledge Kyle Robinson in particular, who brings a wealth of knowledge and information to this project, and we wouldn't be as far along as we are without his support and advocacy. Our ecosystem has grown a huge amount in the past year, but I want to acknowledge the folks who've been with us right from the beginning. The Mining Association of Canada, Copper Mountain Mines, the Open Earth Foundation, Northern Bloc, PwC, Hyperledger Foundation, the Trust Over IP Foundation. These are all open source communities that we contribute to and contribute back to us. Also the First Nations organizations that we worked with over the past year to provide their insights. I'm really excited to continue working with these folks over the next year. And our funders, we are funded by the Strategic Investment Fund that's delivered by TELUS and the Telecom Office. I also want to say a little hello and thank you to my husband and my daughter who are watching tonight. Thank you so much for your love and support. Finally, so this project, it's been a massive year for us, but I really feel like this is the beginning of our journey. We have use cases that are so close to going into production, and our goals is to expand it across Canada and internationally. So we ask everyone in this room, everyone watching, to please come and join us. We're really looking to build on BC's reputation as a digital innovator and build a clean, sustainable, and net zero economy.
For the record, I will be distributing my shots to everyone but myself because it is, sorry, William, not happening. One thing I just love to hear from each of these recipients is the importance of collaboration. And I think this is a true example. Just everyone that comes up here, collaboration is in our DNA. And quite frankly, I think we all know it's going to be required for us to really reach these net zero targets. Another thing that I just wanted to touch on is, you know, as I'm listening and watching everyone receive these awards, something that we are working on doing better at Foresight, and I hope that this, you know, example with all of you celebrating tonight is sometimes we do need to take a pause in a moment to recognize and celebrate the amount of work and effort that does go into this type of ambition every day. Sometimes, you know, we'll achieve a milestone and we're right on to the next thing. And I think, you know, I personally love sometimes that pace, but to really sit down and reflect about, you know, around all of these achievements is something that I think will make us all stronger and energized to continue, you know, this incredible push forward. Because I get a few moments of speaking, I'm allowed to plug a few things. Something that many of you may not know is it's actually going to be Foresight's 10-year anniversary next month. And we have one of our founding board members and chair, Keith Gillard, here. So thank you, Keith, for joining today. And I'd like to say that this was the celebration, but we plan a much bigger celebration for our 10 years over the next couple of months. So be sure to follow along with that. And of course, as we've come into our 10th year, over the last year, we've started to think about ways that we can just continue to mobilize energy and impact in the ecosystem, which is why we launched, you had to use my photo? Like anyone else's photo would have been great. But we have launched the Cleantech Forward podcast, and it is something that has been building over time. And, you know, Tyler Klinkhammer on our team deserves an incredible round of applause for the amount of work and time that it takes to get this going. But, you know, essentially, there's a lot of moving parts and things are moving quickly. There's more and more incentives and actions and competitive landscapes when it comes to these net zero activities. And so the Cleantech Forward podcast is really intended to be a mechanism to have conversations, not just me talking, but talking with more important high impact folks. And some of the individuals and organizations that we've had on the group so far are Circular Rubber Technologies, which was one of our nominees as well to date with Marta van der Sand. Obviously, Invest Vancouver is an incredible partner. I see Brian and some others here. So we've had their previous director on the podcast. I see Gareth in the room. So Clear Renewables, some incredible work being done on the energy renewable space. And this week we have a feature which I really enjoyed the conversation with Seth Klein. And if you haven't read The Good War, it's an incredibly interesting narrative and perspective on how we need to reimagine how we do business to really achieve these climate targets, considering that there is a climate emergency. And I really hope that you will all take a moment to, there's no QR code, scan the QR code, but no, anywhere on iTunes and Shopify, or sorry, not Shopify, Spotify, thank you. You can search for the see there's a QR code. You can definitely listen, and we try to keep them very high impact brief. They're 25-30 minutes of hopefully high impact conversation. And if anyone wants to be on the podcast or co-host with a new idea, don't hesitate to reach out. All right, next up, we're going to move on to a special award. I'm pleased to be presenting this award for the Sustainability Hero. And this individual has been chosen for his outstanding work and wealth of experience as an advisor and advocate on clean energy development, particularly with First Nations interested in advancing opportunities in clean energy and technology. This individual has advocated for Indigenous ownership of energy and electricity projects, and today, projects owned by First Nations generate about 13% of BC's energy, and energy is a hot topic right now. If you've been following with the federal budget, electricity was a pretty big deal. He was appointed Interim Executive Director of Clean Energy BC in the fall of 2022. From the Huspatka First Nations, I am proud to present the Sustainability Hero Award to Kwatuma Cole Sayers. Your expertise in building strong relationships and advancing sustainable economic growth in clean tech truly sets you apart. So please come on up and accept your Sustainability Award. Over to you.
Dr. Clark, thank you. And thank you for having me and my family. It's my son, you may have heard. I wanted him to bring him tonight because, well, one, my mother, she was a single mother. She is a single mother of two, and she brought my sister and me to everywhere. And she's the reason why I'm here. You know, she's the one that started to used run-of-river technology in our community. And you know, and he's the reason why that I'm doing this work for decarbonization. I want to make sure that he can carry on the work that we're doing here today. And so I just want to uplift all of you for the work that you do in working to achieve decarbonization in this province and abroad. We have a monumental challenge ahead of us. And so I just want to take a moment to acknowledge all of you, all the awardees and nominees. You're doing great work. And it's a privilege to be in this space because I get to meet you all and work with you. A growing network of folks that I get to work with. And it's a real privilege to meet you and to learn about all the cool things that you're doing. My work is built on collaboration, whether it's in funding and leveraging all the funding that's out there across government, charities, taking that approach into new spaces to identify opportunities for First Nations that both achieve climate targets, but also advance economic reconciliation and to ensure that the energy transition is also a just one, because you know, electricity is the foundational to this work. We need carbon-free electricity, and that's my bread and butter. You know, providing carbon-free 13% of electricity is quite significant, and we can do a lot more. And that's what we've been advocating for. And in addition to finding other opportunities, perhaps with folks here. So please feel free to reach out to me if you're interested in that. And I want to acknowledge you all. Thank you to Foresight Canada for this event and for this recognition. Thank you. And I think that's it. Thank you very much.
So if Jeanette is not playing along, I think I will transfer all of those to Brian Buggy, who's right in the second row here. So everyone's clear on that. So next up in the ceremony, we have the Ecosystem Supporter of the Year Award. And so innovation doesn't happen in a vacuum. It takes powerful connections and collaborations across sectors. And so the Ecosystem Supporter of the Year Award honors our industry's most innovative and influential connectors who are building inroads, making critical introductions, forming relationships, and connecting all of us across BC's clean tech ecosystem. And the nominees this year are the BC Centre for Innovation and Clean Energy, the BC Pulp and Paper Bio Alliance, Genome BC, Invest Vancouver, and the Vancouver Economic Commission. And the winner is the BC Centre for Innovation and Clean Energy, with Gedden McLean receiving the award.
I'm going to speak really loudly so the people at the back of the room might have a hope of hearing. Okay, so if the volume goes down, just make rude signs or something so I can hear. Look, here's the problem, right? You all know what our logo means? You recognize the curve? Yeah. Okay, good, because some people don't. They think it's a picture of mountains and oceans. And every time I see the logo that we designed, I'm reminded of our ambition. The ambition is, oh, come on, net zero, right, okay. And what happened this week? This week, there was a synthesis report. Anybody aware, right? And what was the message? Act now or it's too late. So are we people of action? Yeah. And how do we get there? How do we get to that crossing point on our logo? We get there by building communities of innovators. We get there by working together. We get there by questioning our own biases. We get there by questioning the norms that we take to be immutable and challenge them. That's innovation. We choose to be innovators. Choose. It's a choice. So when you leave here tonight, you're all innovators. I give you my little blessing and you can be innovators because I'm a winner, right? So for innovation. So the Center for Innovation and Clean Energy was created just over a year ago, a very innovative partnership between two levels of government and Shell. Now, let me tell you about Shell, because Shell this week pushed out their net zero commitment from 2050 to 2100. Right? That happened this last week. That's not good, folks. And so our job is to put as many alternatives on the table that will remove the barriers to getting to net zero. That's the job. Today, the Center for Clean Energy, Innovation and Clean Energy published our carbon blueprint for the province. We bring together the CCUS, oil and gas type technologies for carbon management with nature-based solutions for how we might achieve carbon management. And what's come out of the report for CICE is a recognition that right across the spectrum, there's a gap. And the gap is in measurement, in monitoring and verification of the efficacy of the efforts that people are making. That gap spells probably about $1 billion opportunity for those who would take it. And so in the next little while, CICE is building a community focused on that issue. And then we'll be putting out a call later this fall, focused on that issue and supporting the innovators with as much as we can in terms of policy, follow-on funding, links to the global perspective. That's what we're trying to do at CICE. I hope you'll join us. Thank you, Foresight, for this award. I think what you're doing is great. Thank you so much. This means an awful lot to our team, and on their behalf, I accept it. Thank you. And one more thing is that I'm really proud that PIX got an award tonight because I have a long association with PIX as well. Thank you.
So moving along, the next award is Investor of the Year. And so investments made in BC climate solutions are critical to the strength of clean tech ecosystem and to achieving our sustainability targets. So this award recognizes an angel investor or VC championing a net zero, look over there now, economy by investing in innovative clean tech ventures. And so our nominees tonight are Fred Galowski, Okanagan Aggregates, Nanika Chowbey with EVOC Innovations, Paul Richardson with Renewal Funds, Theo Lee with the Vantech Angel Network, and Yuan Shi with the 51 Food and Ag Tech Fund. And the winner is Yuan Shi with the 51 Food and Ag Tech Fund.
First of all, could everyone in the back hear me? Okay, thank you. First of all, it's actually a great honor to be in this category with some of the most incredible investors. So Fred, Paul, Anika, and Cezal, and it's a great honor to be nominated on the same under the same category with all of you. I studied climate 20 years ago when not a lot of people are talking about climate. So it's been a really humbling moment for me to be acknowledged and to be recognized by this. And I talk about moment, but I also think about movement. What's next? Because what we're creating is not those single moments, but we are trying to create a movement. I think reflecting on what happened in the past few weeks in the financial world, and I think as an investor, the job is becoming a more and more challenging. How can we be responsible? How can we be thoughtful? How can we talk about climate together with all the other major issues that we're all facing? So thank you all. Thank you, Foresight, and thank you to all the judges for awarding me. The final story I wanted to share is I came to Canada by myself when I was 17 to go to university, couldn't speak English. And the most intimidating thing that I would have to work myself, to encourage myself to do is to actually go to a restaurant or go to a food court to order food, especially Subway restaurant, just because all the vegetables that I have no idea what they are or what's they're called or what it tastes after the combo, right? And now what I do is I'm able to invest in innovative solutions in ag tech, food tech, and climate solutions. And to me, that is a really humbling moment. So again, thank you all. And I wanted to also encourage the many international students, first generation immigrants who look at me, who sound like me, to always keep pushing, trust in your gut, that if you are passionate in something, keep pursuing it, because at the end, you are able to create your own story. So thank you again. Have a great night.
So before I invite up another special guest host, I just want to say quickly, I think before everyone leaves tonight, there are going to be some raffles for everyone who registered tonight. And actually, I don't want to give away the prizes because I think George is going to talk about them. But all I want you to know is that before you leave tonight, make sure you look out for the raffles. There's going to be some really interesting prizes. One of them is books, and one of them is really special. And I'm going to let George from KPMG talk about it. Could talk about it later. But before we get there, I want to call up Manveer Bisla from Osler to present the next award. So welcome him to the stage, please. Thanks.
Good evening. I'm Manveer Bisla with Osler, and I'm joined by a few of my colleagues, Mark Longo, Justin Young, Jacques Duplessis, and Laura Webb. Osler is delighted to be one of the sponsors of the event and to present the award for the Funder of the Year. Before I present the award, a bit about Osler. Osler provides strategic advice to some of Canada's most dynamic and leading technology companies and investors who invest in tech. Our group helps clients recognize, develop, and realize dynamic venture capital opportunities. Given the audience in the room, I'm sure you'll be interested to know that yesterday, Osler released our annual report on venture capital and growth equity financing transactions. The report is unique within the Canadian market, as it does not rely on public information or third-party submitted data, but instead grows on Osler's own data sources with a focus on presenting deeper access to financing and deal info that goes beyond what's available to the general based on sole public sources. In 2022, Osler represented clients in over 300 pref share deals with an aggregate deal value of over $4 billion USD. Simply put, we know what's market. This report is available on our website at osler.com, and I encourage each of you to take a look. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask anyone, a member of our team. Now, time for the award. The Funder of the Year award recognizes an organization or individual that is making a critical difference in clean tech by offering capital support or funding to help clean tech ventures grow and scale. The nominees are the Business Development Bank of Canada, the Economic Trust of Southern Interior, Forest Enhancement Society of BC, the National Research Council of Canada Industrial Research Assistance Program, and last, TELUS Pollinator Fund. And the winner is TELUS.
Thank you so much for this. To Foresight, can everyone hear me? I can yell, great. That's my win already for the night. I have to fit in net zero a few more times for this. It's really a true honor to be here in this community and to be recognized with other investors, really important funders like BDC, Forest Services of BC, and all of the community within the climate solution space here. I was really struck at the beginning, Shannon, when you were talking about leveraging the creative sector to mobilize movement for our climate ambitions. All the training institutions and the innovation centers, all of this collaboration that's needed for us to really protect the future for our next generation. I've got 2 kids, 8 and 5, and that's what I worry the most about, is what does the future for them look like? Because we know our forests are struggling, our oceans are dying, and our air is creating major challenges for ourselves. I am a partner at the TELUS Pollinator Fund. Some of you may think, TELUS, what are you doing in this? Are you not around telco and technology solutions? And the answer is yes. We are a company that is committed to social capitalism by leveraging technology. The TELUS Pollinator Fund is a $100 million commitment that was launched at the end of 2020 to really drive change in new business solutions that can scale compelling, measurable impacts in social and environmental outcomes. And climate solutions is a major part of that. To date, we have committed $40 million of our fund towards seed to Series A stage companies, and we are looking for very compelling founders that will find the next solution to solve climate solutions. And we've allocated about a quarter of our fund commitment already to climate solutions, and we are on the hunt for more because we need more solutions to scale. We know that the innovators are out there. We know that we've got companies like Mycocycle that is using mycelium and fungi to solve waste management solutions so that our landfills do not get more full. We have TerraDo, who's recognizing this huge growth in talent of professionals that want to apply their skills, but want to know how to get into the climate space. And this platform is helping those professionals transition into the clean economy. We also know there's more investments out there, like our company called Propagate, that's trying to make agroforestry much easier for land managers so that more of our soil can be protected and we can grow more nature-based solutions. More needs to be done, and we are very excited as a venture fund that's backed by a company like TELUS that we can bring our capital, we can bring our risk tolerance, and we can leverage the full assets of a technology leader and a market leader like TELUS to help the next generation of solutions scale. Thank you for this opportunity. Congratulations to Foresight on 10 years. I am looking forward to the next 10 years of collaboration and ecosystem building that you will be a leader in, and I'm looking forward to additional collaborations with each and every one of you. Thank you.
Congratulations, TELUS. You know, I feel like my TELUS bills are a bit high, but I am okay with it if I am indirectly contributing to a net zero future through that phone bill. It's all good. So to present the next final 2 awards, I want to invite up George Kondopoulos from KPMG to take it away for the rest of the evening. Welcome, George.
I know better than to make comments like William just did about TELUS. Good evening, everyone, and thank you, William. It's hard to actually believe it's evening when it's so nice outside still. As William mentioned, my name's George Kondopoulos. I'm a tax partner with KPMG based out of our Vancouver office. I'm also the industry leader for our technology, media, and telecommunications practice for the Greater Vancouver area, and it's an absolute pleasure to be here today. For those that are not familiar with who KPMG is, we're a full-service accounting, tax, and advisory firm, and we're dedicated to helping our clients navigate a really complex landscape that they're operating in, which seems to get more and more complicated as the days go by. I mean, as Jeanette mentioned earlier, it's phenomenal to be in this sector, especially given the amount of support we're seeing from government more and more, and yesterday was a testament to that. We recognize the crucial role that the tech sector plays in shaping a more sustainable future, which is why we're so proud to be the title sponsor for today's event, and to celebrate the innovative and forward-thinking companies and individuals leading the way in the clean tech space. William mentioned a lot about this prize. So let me talk a little bit about this, and please, I want the award winners to please go to the reception afterwards and get your prize. And then there will apparently be also a raffle draw for people that are still here to get some of these. And what this is, it is a KPMG bottle of gin. And before people say, what the heck are accountants doing making gin? So in 2018, KPMG Canada, through its Greater Vancouver office, so locally here, we launched a Blue Ocean commitment. And this is a commitment to start a dialogue on the importance of sustainability and specifically healthy and flourishing oceans. And in partnership with the Mark James Group, we actually created our KPMG Blue Ocean Gin. My family is always wondering when I can bring a bottle of it home, so I hope everyone enjoys it. It is actually phenomenal with a bit of tonic. We thought about giving golf balls, but I think the gin's a little better. So just onto the awards part of this. British Columbia is home to an abundance of emerging clean tech ventures who are already playing a significant part in our province's green transition. This next award recognizes an up-and-coming clean tech venture that is actively growing and creating impact in this field. We have an impressive list of nominees this year who are demonstrating what's possible in clean tech innovation. And the nominees today are Circular Rubber Technologies, Crush Dynamics, Moment Energy, 7th Generation Capital Corp, and Viridis Research. And the winner is Moment Energy. Congratulations.
Good evening, everyone. It's truly an honor to receive this award tonight and to be in the presence of so many clean tech leaders in the BC community. My name's Samreen. I'm one of the 4 co-founders and COO at Moment Energy, and I'm joined here by Gabe, another one of the co-founders and CTO, along with Miguel, our marketing manager. And honestly, there's been so many amazing startups that we've seen come up in the BC community, and to be recognized as the startup of the year is a true honor. We started off by joining the Foresight program in 2020, and it was just the 4 co-founders back then working out of my parents' garage. And what we do at Moment is we're repurposing electric vehicle batteries into clean, reliable, and affordable energy storage systems. So we've developed relationships with major automotive companies to ensure that these batteries, once they're removed from the vehicle, go through a full circular economy. And since that time in 2020 with the 4 co-founders, we've actually grown to over 30 employees today. And we've got a facility in Coquitlam, and having Miguel here is a testament to how our team has grown, and we're so proud of how far we've come. So to keep this short and sweet, I just want to thank everybody here who was responsible for making this happen and for recognizing us. And thank you all for being here tonight.
I'm scared if someone approaches me with those. So on to the last event, the last award, I mean, for tonight. I'm pleased to announce this year's award for Scaling Venture of the Year. It's clear that BC has emerged as a leader in the global cleantech stage. Getting to this point has required tireless efforts from countless cleantech ventures who are taking climate innovation to the next level and helping our province make its mark as a world leader on the path to net zero. The Scaling Venture of the Year Award recognizes a cleantech venture that is positioned to take a global leadership role in the fight against climate change. The nominees are Clear Renewables, Loop Energy, MindSense Technologies, Novark Technologies, and Savante. And the winner is Savante, congratulations.
So this is a true surprise. Actually, on the way down here, I brought my wife and she said, well, did you actually win? I said, well, actually, I don't know. I think we're nominated. So thank you, Foresight. This is wonderful, a true honor. And thank you to my wonderful wife and family friends. I still am surprised when I said in 2006 that I'm going to quit my job and work in the garage while you go to work. And I got a yes for that. So that's wonderful. My colleagues are wonderful. I couldn't be here without the excellent talent that we have here in British Columbia and Vancouver. And thank you very much for I'm going to use a word that Jed just came up, a couple words, innovation ecosystem. Actually, the government support, the community support has been wonderful throughout the journey. So what Savante does is capture CO2 from smokestacks. So I'm going to describe that a little bit because I do this a lot now. I do a lot of public speaking to the public, and that smokestacks are the big problem we have for CO2 emissions. Most of what's in a smokestack is nitrogen, which is not bad, but there's this 5 to 20% of CO2 in it that is actually doing the most damage and causing climate change. So that mixture of nitrogen and CO2 is pretty useless. That's why we put it up into the atmosphere, right? So the big worldwide problem has actually been to separate the CO2 and nitrogen out of smokestacks. And that's what we've been able to crack the code here in British Columbia, having, I believe, a little bit biased, but the leading solution in separating the CO2 from the nitrogen in that smokestack. And once you have done that, there's plenty of things that we can do with that pure CO2. We can put it into the ground. We can put it into concrete. We can turn it into a fuel. There's plenty of things that we can do with pure CO2 so that it doesn't go into the atmosphere. Now, I actually, when I present on the West Coast especially, I'm asked this specific question a lot, and I want to address this. I'm not asked this, surprisingly, in Alberta and Texas. So that isn't CO2 capture enabling fossil fuels? And how I answer this is that, in general, there's 3 general baskets of CO2 emissions in the world that we all kind of know, right? We know transportation, right? Most of us drive. We burn gasoline and diesel. We're starting to use electrics, but a lot of our transportation, planes and trains and in our vehicles is transportation. We actually know how to address that, right? It's going to be hard and take time, but there's fuel cells. There's Ballard Power here in British Columbia. There's electric vehicles. There's ways of addressing transportation in the world, and we're on that journey and making great progress. Also, power is the other third, approximately. I'm being approximate. And power, we know that that's produced. It used to be produced mostly with coal. It still is in some countries in the world, but we're making good progress on that too, right? We know how to do solar now, inexpensive. We know how to do wind in British Columbia. It's great. We're all on BC Hydro, right? It's fantastic. But there's even other things like nuclear that can help solve that issue with power. We know the journey with power. What we don't know is the other approximately 20 or 30% that is the hard to abate industries. And here's where the public is a little bit more fuzzy on what those emissions are. And those are the things, the products that we use every day. They're in this room. And that we rely on those projects. It's how we build our cities. I'll give an example, right? Concrete. We build our cities with concrete. There's not very many other things there's wonderful to see wood in here. And British Columbia has a lot of wood, but most cities don't have wood. They have concrete, and we still are going to rely on concrete. And concrete is made with limestone, and when you produce it, a whole bunch of CO2 comes off. 7% of the world's CO2 emissions is from the production of cement for concrete. So how are we going to deal with that? Are we going to stop using concrete? Well, we're certainly not doing that tomorrow, right? So the solution is to capture the CO2 from those smokestacks from concrete. There's a whole nother list, right? Steel, right? Imagine a world without steel. We really rely on steel. What about plastic? I know it's very difficult and we're on the journey of not using plastic, but we're having a hard time not using plastic straws. Think about that. We use plastic every day in all of our stuff that we use, right? And then even fertilizer. We feed the 8 billion people in the world with fossil fuel-based fertilizer. So there's a whole list of these hard to abate emissions. And that's what we're going after, is to solve some of those issues with CO2 capture. It has to be part of the solution, not the only solution. We have to do everything, all of it. But certainly CO2 capture has to be part of the solution in the next 20 to 30 years to reach 2050 net zero. So thank you very much. This is super exciting for me. And I'll stop there.
Is there one? Come on. Well, I wanted to kick off our commitments. I'm not that big of a wimp. But no, cheers and a celebration to all of you as winners, as nominees. And I just want to build on the last winner here. I do believe fundamentally that our net zero transition relies on all of us to make a personal commitment as well, in terms of not using as many plastic straws and reducing, all the single-use purchases, the fashion products and stuff. So let's celebrate all the winners, and to each of us picking one thing, one thing that we can all do to make a difference. So cheers to you, and cheers to William for his effort today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, man. I can't do it.
All right, let's look at the time. All right, so the script has me ending at 6:15, at 6:09. So I've got 6 minutes to say net zero repeatedly, right? Well, thanks so much, everyone. This really concludes our BC Cleantech Awards ceremony. Congratulations to all the nominees and winners for their tremendous contributions to our province's green future. Quickly, I haven't talked about the Vancouver Tech Journal at all, so I just want to quickly give 30 seconds. For those of you who don't know the Vancouver Tech Journal, I'd say that we're probably Vancouver and BC's biggest technology news site and community. So every morning, 24,000 British Columbians wake up to get our Sunday briefing, which tells them every single thing they need to know about what's happened in the last week in the tech sector here in the local community. And I actually think our climate tech reporter is here. She is. Alison Kakad with her hand up there. So if you have any interesting stories, go talk to her during the reception. She'll want to write about them. So thanks for coming, Alison. Good to see you. And so that's all I wanted to say. You should subscribe if you don't already subscribe. And so thanks again to the sponsors, the community partners, the judges, the nominees, everyone that made the BC Cleantech Awards possible. Thanks to the Foresight team. You guys are always fantastic, and it's great to see all of you. Thanks to everyone who's joining us here. Thanks to everyone who's joining us online for the wonderful celebration. Once again, I'm William Johnson with the Vancouver Tech Journal. I think I'll meet, I was going to say I'll meet you guys at the bar, right? Enjoy the rest of the evening. Oh, sorry, quickly. Do you guys want the winners for a photo or something? Yeah, all right, all the winners, we want to see you up here for a photo after I say good night. Good night.